Hey folks, Quilly here to talk about some Heroes of the Storm stuff. First of all, if you don't know what this game is, stay tuned. We'll talk about that in a moment. If you do know what it is and you've been patiently waiting for your key to access the closed beta, well, I got some good news for you. On May 19th, Heroes of the Storm is officially going into the open beta phase, which means if you haven't gotten your key by then, you will be able to get in. All that is in preparation for the fact that they are officially releasing the game as version, I don't know, 1.0, I guess, on June the 2nd. If you are interested still in getting to the closed beta and you don't know how, you'll probably, I assume this is the only way to do it, is you need to have a Battle.net account. First of all, this is a Blizzard product, and from there on your account screen, you'll be able to put in an option to say that you're interested in participating in betas for any of their games: Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, etc., including Heroes of the Storm. But again, if you haven't gotten in, you will be able to get in by May the 19th. I suspect they'll probably up their rate of closed beta invites as we get closer and closer to the open beta date. A lot of people have gotten their keys at this point, so they're really just scaling up kind of organically. So, what is Heroes of the Storm? Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA published by Blizzard Software. So a MOBA is a game like Dota or League of Legends, for example. Obviously, the oldest one of them all was Dota. Well, I was going to say the oldest MOBA, the oldest sort of complete MOBA as we understand them today would be the original Dota, Defense of the Ancients, which was a mod for Warcraft 3. Certainly there were a few things before then. Since then there have been many introductions, additions to the genre, I should say. Heroes of Newerth and League of Legends were the sort of next generation of proper sort of copies of Dota, for example, each putting in their own twist. Well, Heroes of Newerth was basically Dota 1.5, whereas League of Legends really went in a slightly different direction, where they stripped out a few of the mechanics from Dota and simplified some of the mechanics. That doesn't mean it ended up being a simpler or dumbed down game. Of course, League of Legends is very popular in the esports scene, and a big part of that reason is because there's a lot of sort of emergent strategy and tactics. But there's no arguing the fact that League of Legends actually has simplified mechanics compared to Dota, although they did go and add a few extra things. So simple is not necessarily worse. Some other games out there that fall into the genre, Strife, Smite's quite cool, actually, because instead of being top-down, it's sort of an over-the-shoulder, third-person sort of format. That's quite cool. But here we have Heroes of the Storm, which is the Blizzard entry to the genre, which is interesting because originally this started as, MOBA started as mods to Blizzard games. So Heroes of the Storm features characters entirely from the Blizzard universe. People from Starcraft fighting people from Warcraft, fighting people from Diablo. A MOBA tends to be a multiplayer online game where you've got usually 5 people per team fighting it out on some sort of battleground. Heroes of the Storm is quite notable in that it has multiple different battlegrounds to fight over. It is free to play, as most of them are, and you every week there's a rotating pool of free heroes that you can choose from. We may be able to get a hint of that over here. Yeah, these little symbols here are the free heroes available this week, a handful over there, and then there's a handful more that I have unlocked. I have played since the closed alpha, but I haven't played that much since the closed beta. I have something like 25 wins in the closed beta, and probably, just as many losses, if not more so. So there's a handful of characters, and there's not as many. Both Dota and League of Legends, which are the two primary examples, have, I think, over 100 heroes each. And in this game, I think we're currently sitting around 35. 35 heroes currently in the game, and certainly they will want to add more. Each one of the heroes and the maps in this game are actually quite a bit more detailed than a lot of the characters in the other games. A lot more voice acting for all the characters. They tend to respond depending on what other heroes are around them in their current state, and all of the maps have their own custom non-generic announcer as well, with their own voice acting that is case sensitive or situation sensitive. So they have stripped out even more of the mechanics in this game than you might find in League. One of the big notable things is there's no purchasing of items, which might seem really weird to you. But in exchange for that, they have this intricate sort of talent system that actually gives you a wide variety of ways to build your heroes and ultimately serve the same role as items, for example. The games tend to be a little bit shorter than in other MOBAs, but again, that doesn't mean that the sort of strategy in the game is any less. In fact, there's quite a bit more objectives on each map to experience. One of the complaints I do have about this game is the heroes are relatively pricey to unlock. For example, here, Zeratul is on sale. Normally he'd be $10. He's currently $5. $5 isn't bad. $10 is a lot to ask for one hero. Yeah, there are fewer of them in the game, but still. There are these bundles that you can pick up that will give you a bunch of them discounted. Here you can see we'd get 8 in this pack. And what says 68% off? I guess I can't get the price here. I think it's about $30 or maybe $40 US to go unlock that. You do also get gold with every game. And as you level up your account, you get quite a bit of gold. As you go forward, there's a handful of heroes that are at the 2,000 gold mark, so they're actually really easy to pick up. And some of them are fine. They tend to be sort of some of the easier and simpler heroes, so they're good for beginners. It doesn't mean they're any less good. And then, yeah, you can keep unlocking them. As you level up your primary account, you get bonus gold. You also get some when you level up your individual heroes. Now, unlike League of Legends, there's not really a big summoner sort of level up system. There's no ability to use masteries and ruins and things like that to customize your heroes. The level up system is basically just a way to give you some rewards and make you feel good as you go forward. However, there is a note to be said about the heroes. You actually don't have access to all their choices of talents right from the start, which we'll see what that means right away. But basically, it means the first few games, your characters are going to be a little bit more focused as you learn it. But it doesn't take you long. You only need to get to level 4 on a hero to unlock all of the talent options, and that happens very, very fast. Like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games or something like that. You'll have everything opened up. So it's not really much of an issue. So you do get gold, but it feels like it's a little bit slow to do, but there are less heroes, so maybe that's a balancing thing. Maybe when they get more heroes later on, they'll make things cheaper. I don't know. One of the nice things about this game is you do get the ability to try out any hero you want. And what I want to do before I go and load up a replay, I actually want to show you some of, like, one of the weirdest possible heroes in the game, just to try to give you a sense of, like, okay, so some things are simple, but other things are weirded out a lot more. And one of the things that's notable about this is the idea of the specialist category. So most MOBAs have sort of 3 primary roles you can think of most of your heroes in. The warrior role here, for example, those are your tough, tanky bruiser types, people who are really good at initiating fights, maybe, you know, getting a lot of attention on them, soaking a lot of damage without dying, and generally keeping the attention on them. Assassins tend to be your primary damage dealers. They're the ones who tend to get more of the kills, and then support people tend to have heals or buffs or stuns or that sort of thing, and they're really good at enabling the other characters to stay alive or get more kills and that sort of thing. These are very classic categories in most of these MOBAs. But Heroes of the Storm adds an explicit specialist category, which is sometimes sort of implied in some of the other games. And these are characters that are they just are weird for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes they're really weird, like the Lost Vikings, Murky, Sergeant Hammer, and especially Abathur over here. They're just bizarre as hell. And other times they're just sort of, they may have more pushing powers or other non-traditional powers. Sylvanas, for example, is especially good at just killing waves of minions, locking down the enemy base, and doing some crazy stuff that way, plus some more utility spells and that sort of thing. This Nezebo is also a really good pusher. Lost Vikings are just weird, and that sort of thing. So I'm actually going to go ahead and load up Abathur just to show one character who's really weird. Then I'm going to load up one of my own replays to talk about the actual gameplay over here. So one of the things to note is that, like in most MOBAs, the characters in Heroes of the Storm has 3 primary abilities plus an ultimate or a heroic ability, and most of them will also have a passive of some kind. Abathur is extremely bizarre. This is the testing mode here. It's just a single lane and some abilities to toggle a few things. You can try out the different champions even before you've gone and unlocked them. Abathur is particularly weird because he actually starts off only with 2 abilities, plus he's got the heroic he can get later on. But just to show how different it is, his primary ability, Symbiote, actually just lets him hop on to someone else. So now I've hopped on to Malfurion. I actually can't pan away from him because I am right here. And now I get a list of abilities I can shoot from Malfurion. Malfurion is the AI bot that's on my side in this little testing mode. Arthas is the AI enemy on the other mode. They're not particularly exciting in the testing mode. They're just there for you to see the different abilities. But you can see I can use the stab ability to shoot some shots out from Malfurion. I can do a spike burst around here. I can shield him with a carapace over here, so now he's shielded up and he's going to take less damage. And generally speaking, I can hop on any friendly unit over the map. I can go ahead and then cancel it if I want. And as soon as that cooldown's up, I can even go and jump on a minion that spawns. If we let a new wave over here, it'll really emphasize it. Come on. Oh, here we go. There we go. So now I'm symbiotically attached to this one locust that I actually just spawned out. And again, I can use all my abilities from there, which is a little bit bizarre. I think we can all agree. My passive ability with Abathur is that every 15 seconds he actually spawns out one of these locusts so he can help push a wave. But what's weird is that continues to happen even when I'm symbiotically combined to someone else. If we watch the animation here, when I hit this, and especially if I get another, there we go, you can see I stay behind the cocoon while I keep spawning these things, which is really weird. I don't think there's any character in any other game that's ever had that kind of ability. In the normal hero form, I can also spawn these little mines if I want. So let's talk about the talent system. So as I said, there's no items in this game. But if you break it down mechanically, what do items do in games? Well, every X number of minutes during gameplay, you have the ability to make some sort of decision that modifies your statistics or abilities on your character. Mechanically, that's what an item is. You spend a certain amount of time, in this context, you're getting money, right? You're getting gold from doing something. And then you go back to base and you spend the gold to get something that either buffs one of your, some of your statistics, or maybe gives you a new activatable ability or something like that. Well, they've gone and just abstracted that out in a sense in this game, because thematically it doesn't necessarily make sense that you would be getting items, especially the same items. I mean, if you're playing Jim Raynor from StarCraft 2, who uses a machine gun, or you're playing Malfurion, a druid from StarCraft, who's got a staff and uses spells, they wouldn't use the same types of items. It just thematically doesn't make sense. So instead, every few levels, you can see the level progression down here. So starting at level 1, then 4, 7, 10, 3, 16, 20. You get to pick a new talent. And depending on the level, it can be anywhere between, say, 2 and 5. 2 is usually at level 10. That's when you pick your heroic ability, of which you have 2. So you actually have a choice of 2 ultimates on your characters in Heroes of the Storm. So you get to make that kind of choice. Usually it's around 4 on a level. And so we can see here my Abathur character, level 1, he gets to pick the ability to increase the spike burst range and increase cooldown. So the spike burst is the ability here that just the area of effect around whatever I'm infesting. We can increase the locust health and duration. The locusts are these little things that I spawn out. You can see they have a limited duration. That's the yellow bar just under their name. And so I can increase that. More importantly, increase their health, so they can just push further and further. This is a very small map for testing, and on other maps it might be really important. We can make it so that my Carapace, so when I infest someone, the Carapace shields them. Well, I can make it so that it also heals them over time while they're shielded. Or I can use Envenom Nests, which is my toxic nest, which is when I'm not infesting anyone, I can drop down these nests basically anywhere on the map. It's not actually global. You can see here, so I am currently in the base, right? I'm way in my base. If I mouse over my toxic nests, I can spawn it all the way into their base. So I could drop something over here. So I can make it so that it does more damage. And that's my level 1 ability. So I can only pick one of these. I have to make a choice. And that's what I like. I always say this, one of the best things in any game is when you have to make an interesting and meaningful choice. And that's what these talents are. In fact, they are more meaningful frequently than your choice of early items in MOBAs, which might just give you a little more health, or maybe a little more attack damage or something like this. Well, this dramatically changes certain aspects of your gameplay. Like, are you going to go with a build that's focused on toxic nests? So you might get the upgrades that give them increased range and more shorter cooldowns and different things like that. You can even see what talents can come up later on, for example, if we click ahead. Or are we just going to focus on our symbiotic ability and make it so that whoever we symbiotize, I don't know what word we want to use, is that much stronger? And then do we want to go offensive with the spikes or defensive with the Carapace? So we've got some of that. And if I go ahead and the fact, again, I'm in the testing environment here, if we give ourselves some level ups, we can see a few more of those. Let's take this one, next level. Again, increased toxic nest charges. So now I get more of these toxic nests, and which would combo well if I wanted them to do more damage. Toxic nests have global range and last longer, so I can put them anywhere on the map. Sustained Carapace. Increased Carapace duration and persist after symbiote. So if I take that, for example, and I symbiosis him, and then I Carapace him, and then break the symbiosis, he's still going to be shielded when I've done that. Call down Mule. This is something that a lot of specialists have the ability. This gives you a new ability here that I can call down next to a building, and it will actually repair that building. So I think we can see that this character is really weird and should show you a good amount of variety that you might expect from this. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out of this this little testing mode here. Did I quit the game? I might have just quit. No, okay, just quit that. We're going to pop out of that, and we're going to open up Replay. Hey, League of Legends players, check it out. Replays right from the start. I'm going to go open up this, maybe the Haunted Mines. I'm trying to decide. There's a lot of different maps, and I don't know which one would be the best showcase of things. I think this Haunted Mines thing will be a good one. And the reason I want to show you Abathur is because this Haunted Mine game, I'm playing as Raynor. There are daily quests in this game. So every time you log in, you will get a daily quest. You can have up to 3 of them stored up at a time. And there'll be something like play 3 games as a assassin character, play 3 games as a Warcraft character, that sort of thing. Here I had a quest to play 3 games an assassin character. I don't like playing assassins. I like to play either usually support or specialist, or maybe the warriors. Assassin's really not my style. So I picked Jim Raynor over here, who's actually like probably one of the most brainless, simple characters in the game, one of the easiest to play. You actually play him in the tutorial, for example. He's only got his normal abilities. He's just got a straight line attack that will do damage in a straight line and knock people back. And his W, that was his Q, his W ability is just a buff around himself, like hits himself and anyone else nearby, increasing their attack speed. Very simple. His E ability is actually a passive. When my health gets below, I think, 30%, it will instantly heal me, and that's on a relatively big cooldown. So it gives me a little bit more hit points than it appears that I have. And then we'll talk about the ultimates later on. So he's dead simple, so there's not much to talk about. But it's worth talking about this map and talking about how some of the game mechanics work. First of all, does last hitting affect this game? And so if you've played something like Dota or League of Legends, you're used to the idea that last hitting is quite important. If you played other MOBAs, you might not know. Last hitting is something that's relatively, it's not very obvious in how it works. In those games. First of all, there's no last hitting in this. So last hitting means if you get the actual killing blow on a unit, that's the only way you get gold. Well, first of all, there's no gold. There's no money in this game because you don't buy items. And the experience points, if you are near an enemy when it dies, you don't have to get the killing blow. If you're near an enemy when it dies, you get experience points, which levels you up. Well, it's actually a little bit more than that. There's no individual levels in this game. It is purely team-based. The experience bar is shared with the entire team. Your entire team levels up at the same time. And what that means, and it might seem like, at first I was like, well, that sort of simplifies things and you get a little bit less reward for yourself. But what it does, this game is very focused around team fights and map-based encounters. And so what you want to do is you want to coordinate with your team as much as possible based on your entire team level. So your entire team will get their ultimate abilities at the same time, or the other team will. And so that's going to affect your gameplay. It's not just one person is going to get one here and there and there and there, which sort of muddies the waters and makes it a little less defined. Here, there are massively important breakpoints that you have to strategize around and play around. And I think that adds, again, this is an example of they sort of simplified one of the game mechanics, but they actually added some depth of overall strategy as a side effect of that, which is kind of cool. So as long as anyone on your team is near something when it dies, your whole team, your team will get the experience points. So it changes the idea of how you sort of farm and maintain these lanes. You don't have to worry about last hits, you just have to have someone nearby. Most of the maps have 3 lanes, like a traditional MOBA. This map only has 2. But what it actually has an underground level here. Every now and again, the mines will open up, and the mines will be infested with some undead. What you want to do is you want to go down into the mines, you want to kill the undead, which still give you experience points, but they also drop skulls. And we can see at the bottom here, each team is racing around trying to kill these undead and collect skulls. There's a total of 100 of them. When all 100 are collected, each team will spawn a bone golem, a big monster, a super powerful mob that will push into the other team's base. How powerful yours is will depend entirely on how many skulls have been collected. So, and it's semi-random, there's not a set timer, but every so often these mines will open up and then the gameplay changes here. Your team will go down there and try to collect the skulls. Or will it? Because this whole time, for example, no one is up here collecting the XP. These minions are killing each other, but none of this XP is counting. So, and every map has a lot of these objectives, these time-based team objectives, and it's entirely viable, for example, that we might not want to all go down into mines. We may have wanted to leave some people up ahead to get more experience points. In particular, the rush to level 10 is particularly important because that's when you first unlock your heroic abilities. Oh, over here we've got Sergeant Hammer, who's another good example of a very bizarre character. She operates a tank and actually has to convert into siege mode to get her best attacks, but while she's in siege mode, she can't move. Everyone here is recalling back to the base. One thing to note is that all the characters in the game also do come with a mount. You can mount up. There's a slight cast time. Then you're able to move faster. Except, again, Sergeant Hammer here wouldn't make sense for the tank to ride a horse. So she actually, instead of being able to toggle on a horse and move faster, instead she has an ability to give herself a short-term speed boost, which complicates things a little. It's kind of interesting. Another one of the characters doesn't have a mount, but can always teleport to any allied person. Here we can see the jungle and these neutral sort of minions over here, which are very, very important objectives to fight over in this game. That's one of the things that League of Legends introduced above Dota. I mean, Dota had, you know, the one big monster on the map. Of course, also had a jungle that you could kill. There's some neutral minions in the jungle you can kill for experience points. But what League of Legends added was this was the dragon, which is a special jungle minion that is up relatively often, has a relatively short cooldown, and is a source of major team fighting. Well, Heroes of the Storm brings it to the next level in that, yeah, sure, you also get your experience points from beating up the minions, but more importantly, after you've defeated a siege camp, you can then get them to come and fight on your side. We can see that, where's the ones that we just summoned? Oh, right here. These two siege minions over here, we went and beat them up, and now they're fighting on our side and will help push the base. These are the bone golems that we talked about here that we just got by collecting all the skulls in the bottom, for example. Let's talk about the bases themselves. So, unlike most other MOBAs, these bases are actually walled off. Here we've got pair of towers, a pair of turrets defending a base, and there's a wall, a gate in between. Friendly characters, so here the red team, can walk through this gate at will, no matter what they want, but enemies will not be able to walk through there. And there's two towers, so you have to destroy both of these and the gate. I mean, you can do that in any order. You can destroy the gate and you can walk through perfectly fine, but you probably want to destroy both towers. It's worth noting towers actually have ammunition. If we go down over here, you see a little set of dots. Every time it fires, it uses one piece of ammo, and this one just ran out of ammo. Now, they do start with a pretty big supply, and they do regenerate ammunition over time, but it encourages... It makes the games a little bit shorter, because at a certain point, if you keep pressuring a gate, at a certain point the towers will simply stop being able to fire because they'll run out of ammo until they start to recharge. The same thing with these forts over here. These forts work a little bit differently than, say, a Nexus or a barracks in Dota or League of Legends, but relatively the same. However, they do also have the ability to shoot, but they can run out of ammo. These fountains over here can be used to give yourself a little bit of health and mana, but they do have a cooldown. Like the fountain itself doesn't have a cooldown. It's you have a cooldown of how frequently you can use the fountain, but it helps during the sort of laning phase to get that started. Ultimately, your goal, of course, is to defeat the enemy base over here, the stronghold. There's a fountain. And yeah, so I don't know. Again, it's obvious. Like if you remove the sort of items from the game and you remove sort of individual experience points from the game, it's obviously been simplified a little bit. And yet, I really enjoy the actual strategic elements of how to roam around the map. There's a lot of choices as to when you stay in lane, as when you go after a map-based objective, and when you go after neutral minions. Map-based objectives, this one's a little bit different than some of the others, because this one here, for example, doesn't really generate quite as many team fights, because when the mine's open, like right now, there's a lot of possibilities for people to split up in their own direction and just go and kill these minions. Or you might want to roam as a group, try to eliminate the other team, and then you can take the minions at will. If I load up a different map, for example, let's go ahead and do that. Quit replay. Load up a different map, and we can find one that really forces massive, massive, massive team fights. The Dragon Shrine, Garden of Terror, Cursed Hollow. I think this will be a really good example of one of those. There you go, watch solo. So on this map, this is going to feel a little bit more conventional if you've played other MOBAs, in that it's a 3-lane map. The distances between lanes are going to be pretty samey to what you feel like in a lot of other MOBAs. If we take a glance here, you can see this is the top lane over here. We've got to go all the way down here to the middle lane, and then all the way down here to the bottom lane. Some of the maps are very tight, very condensed. This one here is relatively large. And it will feel mostly, you know, pretty standard. I mean, you've got these sort of layers of forts to fight between, the 3 lanes. There's some jungle minions. There are some areas you can fight over for control, which is pretty good. But every now and again as we play this, and let me go ahead and increase to faster ×2 speed so we can go and burn through this a little bit more. Every now and again, there will be a tribute that spawns somewhere on the map. There are certain fixed locations where they can show up. It's where these little stone rings happen. There's some at the top, there's some at the bottom, and there's going to be some on the right and some on the left. And the game automatically balances things so that if a tribute shows up on the right-hand side of the map, the next one will be on the left-hand side of the map, and so on and so forth. So it sort of mixes around. And those have to be fought over pretty intensely, because when you collect a tribute, Well, nothing happens when you collect 1, but once you've collected 3, then the enemy team gets cursed. And what happens when they get cursed is all the minions on the enemy team are reduced to 1 hit point. So you can burn through them super fast, and it disables all the enemy forts and fortresses. So you can push like crazy when that happens. So when a tribute does spawn, and let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit more here. When a tribute does spawn, it will lend itself to massive team fightings as people jockey around these tributes. So right now we're mostly just looking for experience points. I could talk about Zagara, who I'm playing in this map. Zagara is another specialist type. She's far less weird than Abathur, but one of the things she can do is plant these creep tumors all over the place while she's on a creep tumor. So normally she moves relatively slowly, but when she's on a creep tumor, her speed is accelerated. Actually, and depending on what talents I grabbed, it looks like I took a talent, I think, that when I'm on the creep, I also heal in this particular game. I don't think I normally take that one, but the tumors also give you vision. So right over here, I've got massive amounts of map control simply based on vision. Tribute is going to spawn soon. We can see it right over here. We've got a countdown timer. You do get that when you play, so people know it's coming. People know where it's going to be. And you're going to see here, a lot of people are going to go up here to the tribute. Now, the ones at the bottom, we're going to have a hard time getting up there. Plus, we're currently busy in the fight. But we have a decision. We could stay here and just keep getting experience points from these things while we duke it out over there. Ideally, you don't want to lose the tribute. You collect the tribute by right-clicking on it, but there's a cast time you can see here. And you can see he started channeling it, but if you take any damage, it cancels the channel. So there's tons of jockeying around here, and it leads to excitement. It forces team fights, or it forces you to make an explicit decision to not team fight, to give up the tribute, hopefully in exchange of getting more experience points, so that for the next team fight, you'll be slightly ahead. You can see here the blue team is slightly ahead in level, just momentarily, but now the other team should get a little bit more experience points in a second. There we go. So they're tied at 6. Every time you go up a level, you do get slightly more powerful, right? Slightly more health, slightly more damage dealing, but those breakpoint levels are the important ones. They're not exactly equal. It's level 1, 4, 7, 10. I guess that's every 3. Every 3 levels, you do get an extra talent, which is an ultra important breakpoint. So going from level 4 to 5 is okay, but going from 5 to 6 is incredibly good. So here it looks like they're going to capture the first tribute. The blue team, which is the team I was on, we sort of lost this encounter here, and they were able to collect the first tribute. So they have 1, but you know, that happens. And 1 doesn't necessarily make you or break you. They got ahead on experience points as well with all the fighting. So here, we've decided we're going to go for one of these siege camps. And you can see here we're going to collect it. As long as they're standing in the circle, it's going to collect. They're going to join the team, and we'll actually get a little blue line showing where they'll go. And we actually took this camp aggressively. This is right near the enemy team. And what's neat about these siege giants is they actually outrange enemy towers. So they won't be hit by the towers. And actually, it just so happens that this spawn here, they don't even get intercepted by minions. But they've come over here. Their Lili has decided to come and try to take these guys down to stop them from taking out the base. But that was a pretty good aggro move. Nice little bit of team fighting here in the middle. Elite Tauren Chieftain is a very good warrior type character. One of his ultimates, he's got a couple of options. One of them allows him to do a stage dive, so leap into battle from basically anywhere on the map. So he can be farming bottom lane and then still be available for a team fight in the top, which is pretty good. He's got some knockbacks, some self-heals, and he's very tough to kill, but he can also really disrupt the enemy team quite a bit. Arthas is another sort of tanky warrior type person. He does have the ability to potentially root someone in place, but mostly, yeah, he just heals a lot. He's tanky. He slows down people nearby. We're getting another tribute here. So that's 2 tributes in the row on the top. This one's sort of top middle. This one's vaguely top right. And again, we're going to close in here and hopefully not lose it. I don't know if I've won or lost this game. It's feeling right now like it might be one that we'll lose. We'll see how it goes. Where am I right now? I think I was still at the bottom. Yeah. So again, I may or may not make it to the top. It looks like I grab the vision and then I'm going to join the team at the top, which is a bit delayed. I'm hoping that they're going to be okay. Wow, I'm not being very team playery this game. Maybe we'll lose because I'm not being a team player. Do eventually get there. But the thing is, one of the things that Zagara is good at is pushing lanes. So it's a good opportunity for me to go and, like, on the way up, it's like, well, I may as well beat up these things a little bit so we get a bit of a push. Hopefully we can get there on time to make a difference. I probably should have responded faster. Pooping out these creep tumors is really good, especially in the brush, because we'll permanently get some vision over there. Hey, why don't I actually attack the one with low health? I was probably watching Netflix while I was playing this game. That happens a lot. We did win the team fight, though. We're currently ahead in level. We actually just got our ultimate abilities as well. And we will get this this tribute as well. Now, if enough of the team was dead, we may want to go for one of these bosses. We are pinging it right now. It's pretty risky because most of their team is alive, but if we can get the boss, it's good. Boss is tough. They take a long time to kill, and they've got a lot of splash damage. Yeah, risky, absolutely risky. Because if we can't get them down in time, they could come and kill us. But if we can sneak this boss, it'll be amazing. Again, we will get him onto our side, and he will push a lane like crazy. Early on in the game, they're only sort of middling power, so grabbing them is nice, but it's not, you know, the end-all and be-all. But later on in the game, this thing can, like, wreck an entire base by himself. Although, enemy heroes will be that much more powerful to sort of be able to stop him. We did get him, though, which is going to be good. So he's going to come up here and push pretty hard. That was a big risk. As it turns out, it worked out. Apply some damage onto Arthas over here. You can see that the Elite Tauren Chieftain was really keeping him away from his base as much as possible. Oh, I think he used his Mosh Pit ability to keep him locked down, and we were able to finish him up. See someone here saying, I have bribes. Some of the characters have the ability to take talents, which allows them to collect money for bribes, basically. Every time they're near something that dies, they get progress towards a bribe, and they can use a bribe to instantly convert a minion camp, basically, which is pretty powerful. Actually, I guess it doesn't convert the whole camp. It converts one person in a camp to help you right from the start, which is pretty good. A nice push going on here. We're going to destroy this. Once this fort goes down, I'm pretty... Oh, we may have to get both. Yeah, we have to get the two. We have to get the outside fort and this one. They might have different names as well. Then we will start to spawn catapults, which are quite powerful for pushing a base. And see here, Sylvanas, her ability actually like stuns minions. So she's pretty good at locking down neutral minions or minion waves down. And that makes her really good at pushing, but also makes her really good at taking minion camps, for example. Where am I at this point? Right down over here. So I've gone... Oh, I went back to base. So any hero that they want can hit the B key to recall back to their base, which allows them to heal themselves up. You can see here, Zagara does not use a mount, but I can pop out wings to go a little bit faster if need be. Here's a wave of Banelings. Really nice long range, does splash damage. And I probably took the thing that makes it do extra damage to non-hero characters here, which allows you to push minion waves very quickly. Also, blow up some of these defenses. You can see here, I should be able to chew these up really, really, really quickly. These little hearts in an orb here, when you kill one of the caster minions in the wave, like this guy here, he drops that little healing orb. Oh, we're going to get a tribute here, and it looks like no one's nearby. I'm dropping down some creep tumors to get some vision. Also, I still have this vision area captured here. And so I pretty much know that I should be able to take this easily. They're mostly forced to defend this base. No one's nearby, so I'm going to grab that, and then I'll probably go back to pushing the bottom. Oh, we actually got the curse off, so now all the enemy minions have 1 hit point, and the bases can no longer fire at us. So we should be able to get a really good push on. Arthas is pushing there, but he's going to get pushed back. Still just some skirmishing and positioning here. And I'm going to do what Zagara does, which is try to push down these bases. You can see this thing has lots of ammo, but it's not going to be able to do anything. And yeah, these minions, as long as the curse lasts, the minions only have the 1 hit point. So we can just burn through them really, really quickly. I have changed focus here because it looks like it's going to drop no matter what. Currently under attack. I will try to finish this base. There we go. That's my ultimate ability there, which allows me to just eat someone, basically take them out of combat for a little while. I don't think... I'm pretty bad at actually getting a really good one off, but it's nice in team fights if you can, like, just lock away half their team for a little while. That's pretty good, but you can also use it defensively like I did there. Not that Li Li's particularly dangerous since she is a support healer type, but there we go. Good wave pushes there. Meanwhile, my team is mostly in the middle, getting some progress. So I'm hoping I've sold you on the idea that this is actually a pretty fun game. It is weird not having the items, but I guarantee you that after you've played a handful of games, you know, just 3 or 4 games, and you've gotten used to the talent system, especially once you've gotten to the point where on any given hero you've gone and unlocked all the ability of talent. So once you get to level 4 in a hero, which again just takes like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games, doesn't take very long to unlock everything, then you'll feel like there's a lot of variety and you'll get a sense that there's a lot of different ways to build it. And because you don't know what map you're going to be on in the normal gameplay mode until you get in it. You actually don't necessarily, you can't predict what kind of build you'll do with your hero. And on some maps are more team fight focused, others are more pushing, others are need more mobility. So you may build your hero quite differently depending on what map you're in. One thing to note, and again, this is just in the normal play. There is sort of a more ranked mode. If we go to play over here, there's the Hero League, which I don't have access to on this account here because I'm only 17. You got to be level 30 before you can do it. But this will unlock the ability to do draft mode games, which, you know, offer a little bit more depth in how you arrange your party. But right now, with the normal quick match mode, there's also cooperative, which is versus AI. And then there's just straight up practice, which I think is a normal game, but that you have AI teammates versus AI. Cooperative is human teammates versus AI, and then quick match is normal human versus human. You actually pick your character before you go into it. All right, you pick what character you want to play, and then the game will actually match you with an appropriate party. So, for example, if I pick a support character, so we can filter this like this. So if I pick Malfurion, for example, a support character, and I hit ready, then what will... Actually, that's weird. I can right-click. Oh, there we go. And hit ready. It will pair me up with a team that's mostly going to be, warrior, assassin, and a specialist, and then maybe some other thing in there. If you go and you pick an assassin, it'll make sure to team you up with other support characters. There's also the ability to go random or auto-select, actually. And it'll give you a character that fits the team best. So if it finds you a team that is short on a warrior, then it'll give you a warrior at random from the pool that you have available to you. So I think with the auto select, you can actually, so it's not random. There's not random exactly. It's an intelligent selection. And so I think you'll probably end up with slightly shorter queue times because it should be easier to fit you into a party because it'll just give you whatever role the party needs. On the other hand, most likely, because most of the time in these games, most people end up doing things like picking assassins. For some reason, people really like the sort of drama of being the star, the biggest damage dealer. So I find usually with auto-select, you don't end up with that. But that actually suits me fine because I don't like to play as assassins. I like to play support and specialist. And sometimes a warrior, that's actually fine. And so I quite enjoy using auto-select myself. And it increases the chance that, I sort of mix it up and try different things. But usually what I do is I prioritize my daily quests, which actually does encourage people to play a variety of roles, which helps in your matchmaking. Like here, I've got a daily quest to play 3 games as a warrior hero. If I complete that, I'll get 300 gold. I don't even have to win 3 games. I just have to play 3 games as that kind of character. So I will probably do that to get extra gold so that I can go and buy some extra character types, right, from the shop. I can't remember if you can buy skins with gold. I don't think so. Oh, that was weird. You'll have to excuse me. I'm having internet problems today, which is one of the reasons I'm not actually playing this game. No, you can't buy skins with gold. Just unlock the heroes. Just unlock the gameplay stuff. Those are for the mounts. Again, all your characters can mount. Well, except for a few. There's a few characters that cannot mount. Zagara was one. I think Abathur can't. The tank can't. Diablo can, which is amazing because he's monstrously huge. Diablo here. This is going to be hilarious, actually. Just wait until you see this. Diablo is huge. He's a warrior type. Very good frontline bruiser. Quite tough. You can see here. He doesn't use a horse, though, by default. So that's good. At least, unless I chose a custom mount, but I didn't think I did. So he looks a little bit less stupid there, but I'm pretty sure he used to just ride a normal horse, and he looked ridiculous in there. Diablo's cool. He's got a sort of a charge forward. He's got this fire wave, and he's got the ability to pick someone up. So the charge you actually have to toggle. You have to actually target someone. But you can charge someone, sort of slam them forward, and do damage to them. And if you charge them into something, they'll be stunned. But then what you can do is fling them over your shoulder. So he's really good at initiating a fight on someone because he can close on them quite quickly and then fling them over. And that sets up for a nice kill, and especially if you do something like that and you get them out of position. Boom, like that. Obviously, this is just an AI bot thing, so it hardly matters. His passive is quite cool. Every time there's a kill, which is to say nearby, right? If you take a look, there's this takedown chart. There's not actually a kill. Takedown is any death of a hero that you participated in. So the takedown is both your killing blows, but also your assists, for example. Well, every time, and all you have to do is be nearby for that, because the game assumes if you're nearby, you probably helped, right? So with Diablo is every time a hero dies near him, he gets 10 souls, and every time a minion dies near him, he gets a soul. And then for every soul he's got, he gets extra maximum health. He gets tougher the more souls he's got. Plus, when he dies, if he's got 100 souls, which is currently his cap, he'll resurrect in 5 seconds instead of the normal death timer. However, it does consume all his souls. But one of the things that you can do as Diablo is you can reduce the amount of souls required to res. And I think later on, there's also a thing that lets him carry more souls. Increases maximum soul count, so now up to 150. And you can have it so when he dies, he only consumes 75 of them. Now, the thing that reduces his death soul usage is just the sort of thing that, if you're not very good, makes it so that you don't suck quite as bad, but it doesn't necessarily make you better. However, having more souls is quite good because it'll increase your maximum health. But again, you're picking that instead of something else. Basic attacks decrease ability cooldowns? Shit, that's pretty good! And then the ability to actually activate your soul stone over here to consume souls to gain health over time. So now all of a sudden we will heal by consuming souls. Like, what? That's pretty dramatic. And actually, Diablo's like one of the less sophisticated characters, so some of his traits aren't like crazy. His abilities are pretty nice though. Both Apocalypse and Lightning Breath are pretty potent. And again, like, do you want more range on your Shadow Charge, or do you want your Shadow Charge to slow the target? Well, that might depend very much on who you're facing. A Spell Shield that gives you the ability to reduce damage from incoming abilities every 30 seconds automatically. Well, that's pretty good. Relentless halves duration of disables. Yeah, all right. See, all these things are like pretty useful. How do you pick and choose which one? Well, it's going to depend on your group. If you're fighting a group that's got tons of disables, well, then maybe you'll just want to reduce the duration of it, for example. But otherwise, you might want the ability to hunt down someone a little bit easier. And again, Diablo is one of the simpler characters. He's actually quite good, though, because he's so tough and he can set up kills pretty well, especially if you can pair him off with someone else who's got a disable, just because he can make sure, he can do, you know, throw back. Now that you've got someone in the middle of your team, and if you've got an extra follow-up stun there to keep him locked down, you're going to be guaranteed a kill. Lots of good options that way. I like Diablo. He's fun to play too because he just feels like a giant badass. If you really, depending on what map you're on, if you just want to be able to kill minions a lot faster, there's abilities that make this, what's it called? Fire Stomp much more powerful to make it so that when it goes out, it also then comes back. And therefore it basically does double damage. So you see here, Fire Wave extends further, or deals extra damage to non-heroes. So that's Fire Stomp can do double damage to minions. Or towers. All spells can damage buildings in Heroes of the Storm, which you might not be used to if you've played League or Dota, for example. But now, all of a sudden, we're starting to get to the point where Diablo can clear minion waves pretty well. If we keep leveling up over here, you get to pick a new talent. Well, we could do something like decrease cooldown, and then we'll get our level 10 ability. Let's go ahead and grab the Lightning Breath, because it's pretty awesome. And the cool thing about Lightning Breath is you can keep aiming it. You can keep moving it over, and so you can do big damage to an entire team. Where's the one you get when you get your Fire Wave to come back? Did they change that? They might have changed that. Reduce incoming spell ability. I guess I could just look, but it's fun to level up in this testing mode. Fire Stomp grants a damage aura. There we go. Casting Fire Stomp surrounds you in flame that deals 63 damage every second for 10 seconds. Oh, Fire Wave returns. There we go. I'm not being a very good teammate. But now, if I do this, it'll go out, it'll come back, dealing 50% bonus damage to minions the entire time. So now all of a sudden we're talking about something that can clear an entire creep wave. On that Haunted Mines map, where you want to go down into the mines and kill all the minions very quickly to get skulls, that might be a really, really viable thing. I don't think this is a typical build with Diablo, because mostly you're going to focus on being the primary tank in for team fights, which this Fire Stomp build doesn't really assist. But you gotta admit, it's pretty damn cool. And it does deal 50% bonus damage to buildings. There we go, pick you up, knock you back into a wall. Lightning Breath. No, not able to finish him off that way, which is too bad. But we did get the building. Anyway, there you go. Here's the Storm. Again, open beta coming May 19th, and the full game release will be on June the 2nd. I suspect the actual game, the full game, quote-unquote, will look very similar to this one. It is free to play, although if you want to unlock champions and you don't want to wait to collect gold, you can spend money on that, and you can spend money to get skins and all kinds of cosmetics and whatnot. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this, hey, drop a like, drop a favorite, drop a comment, let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.